This video is brought to you by Nvidia and Gigabyte Aorus's range of GeForce RTX 50 series GPUs, delivering cutting-edge features like ray tracing and DLSS in the latest and most demanding games like Avowed, all while backed by Gigabyte's exceptional build quality and features. They're big supporters of the channel, and to show it, they're giving away a custom-built PC to one lucky winner. Stick around to the end of the video to learn more about that giveaway and Nvidia and Gigabyte's game-changing hardware. Gamers, what's been happening? You've been maintaining that strict Saratoga 4 AM wake-up routine? I know I am. Of course, if you're not on social media, that reference means absolutely nothing to you. But if you are, then please lift your head out of your ice water bowl for just a moment, because it's time for This Week in Video Games, your #1 source of week-old news and week-old memes. You're welcome. You know what else is a week old now? Assassin's Creed Shadows. Boy oh boy, it's been one hell of a ride for Assassin's Creed Shadows, hasn't it? Definitely one of the most tumultuous game releases I've ever seen, stuck in the crosshairs of the culture war, nervously eyed by investors looking for signs of life in Ubisoft's profit and loss sheet, a source of anxiety for Ubisoft staff who worry about Ubisoft's plans to further downsize the company, and of course, eagerly anticipated by fans, many of whom have been waiting for over a decade for the franchise to finally make the journey to Japan. Reviews for the game came in last week, and we discussed them in last week's show, and they were definitely a good news story for Ubisoft. It hit an 81 on OpenCritic, with most media outlets scoring it an 8 out of 10, very little spread in that score as well. YouTube reviewers such as myself were generally a little or a lot harsher on it. Me personally, I didn't end up recommending it, as I think the formula needs to evolve more than Shadows delivers, but there's no denying that this is a solid modern AC game, and if that formula appeals to you, then this one is a very safe purchase. With those reviews in the can, the next immediate question was, is this sucker gonna sell? Ubisoft are in dire straits right now, and they need a huge W, one so big that it could help stem the bleeding after an absolutely disastrous 2024 that saw underperforming releases like Skull and Bones and Star Wars Outlaws, and outright cancellations like the very short-lived X-Defiant. Well, the good news for Ubisoft HQ is that Assassin's Creed Shadows is a certified hit, at least in its initial launch window. Within the first day of release, Ubisoft announced that AC Shadows had seen 1 million players, though they didn't specify how many of those were sales versus people playing on Ubisoft's subscription service. By day 3, they announced that Shadows had surpassed a total of 2 million players, making it a bigger release than both Origins and Odyssey. You might be thinking to yourself, well, what about Valhalla? Well, the truth is that isn't really a fair comparison. Valhalla was a launch title for the PS5 and Xbox Series consoles, and that's naturally going to boost sales massively. Plus, it was during the middle of the pandemic when we're all stuck inside and had nothing to do but play Among Us, and other games too, I guess. So in terms of like-for-like comparisons, it's more sensible to look at other releases, and when you do that, Shadows has done very well for itself indeed. Further proof of the game's success comes from VGC, who got hold of some sales data through a source. They report that, quote, Shadows marked Ubisoft's best ever day one launch on the PlayStation Digital Store, was the most wishlisted Ubisoft title of all time, and generated over 11 million hours of watch time on Twitch, the strongest start for any recent Ubisoft title, including Valhalla. Chris String, formerly of GamesIndustry.biz and now leading a new outfit called The Game Business, provided a perspective on box UK sales, which is surely indicative of broader trends. He said, quote, in terms of physical sales, Assassin's Creed Shadows is the biggest UK game launch this year, comfortably ahead of Monster Hunter Wilds. It has also sold more box copies in 1 week than Star Wars Outlaws managed in 3 months, end quote. So those are all big, impressive numbers, but one number that's received a lot of attention is the concurrent player count on Steam, which peaked at only 64,000 players. That's actually less than Dragon Age the Veilguard's peak of 89,000 players. And that was clearly a flop, so surely if Shadows got less than that, doesn't that mean that Shadows flopped too? Well, no, absolutely not. Every game is different with different audiences and platform preferences. Dragon Age is clearly a very PC-centric player base, so if it's not doing numbers on that platform, then that's not a good sign. AC, on the other hand, is a very console-ass console game, and you want proof of that? The data that VGC got hold of confirmed that PC accounted for only 27% of AC Shadows activations, meaning players. 73% of people who play this game are doing it on a console, meaning that Steam's concurrent player count data is significantly less useful here than it is in other instances. Still, I've definitely detected some hostility towards the idea that this game is a success. I've seen it in various social media platforms, with more than a few people referencing the Dragon Age situation, where a number of people were trying to suggest that Dragon Age was a big commercial success, when clearly it wasn't. This doesn't seem to be anything like that situation. AC Shadows has had a bigger launch than 2 of Ubisoft's best-selling games ever, Origins and Odyssey, and I think any effort to suggest that this hasn't been a successful launch for Ubisoft is disingenuous. Now, what does this mean for the long-tail sales of the game? Truth is, I don't know, nobody does. But Ubisoft games have often found strong long-tail success success owing to DLC releases and aggressive discounting, so we'll no doubt hear more about sales milestones in the future. Right now though, Ubisoft staff are celebrating. They put out a thank you note on Reddit that read in part, quote, "Seeing your excitement, your thoughtful reactions, your joy has meant the world to us. After years of hard work, there's nothing more rewarding than watching the community connect with what we've created," end quote. Interestingly, one group of people who have also connected with the title is Japanese game reviewers. Polygon wrote this up, so full credit to them, but they had a Japanese gaming journalist by the name of Kazuma Hashimoto do a sort of review roundup for Japanese outlets, and the sentiment towards Shadows is broadly positive. Outlets like Dengeki, GameWatch, Gamer, and 4Gamer all published positive reviews, praising the visuals and the rendition of the countryside, which invoked much nostalgia. The outlets were very complimentary of Nawe, who they said felt very on point, but more critical of Yasuke, who they said was too powerful and exaggerated, a complaint echoed by a number of Western reviewers, myself included. Either way, this sort of generalized praise is nice, since it's similar to what Ghost of Tsushima got at its launch, to the point where Tsushima won the award for Best Game at the Tokyo Game Show back in 2021. Still, the launch has not been without its new controversies. Most recently, Japanese politicians have been voicing discomfort after seeing in-game footage of Japanese shrines being destroyed in AC Shadows. According to IGN Japan, this footage caught the attention of Hiroyuki Kada, a representative of Japan's right-wing Liberal Democratic Party. Kada raised the issue during a budget meeting, suggesting that the potential actions players can take within the game could encourage people to recreate them in real life, linking the matter to perceived issues of over-tourism in the country. He said, quote, "Shrine officials and local residents are also worried about this. Of course, freedom of expression must be respected, but acts that demean local cultures should be avoided," end quote. And this is a tricky topic because, of course, it's important to respect cultures and respect the voices advocating on their behalf. At the same time, the previous Assassin's Creed game was entirely based on ransacking Christian monasteries in medieval England. And previous entries have seen you pillaging the riches of the ancient Greek world, ancient Egypt, the Caribbean, and let's not forget the Pope boss battle in AC2. Still, erring on the side of caution, Ubisoft rolled out a day one patch for the game that made certain objects within shrines indestructible and made it so that if you kill any unarmed people on temple grounds, those people won't bleed, meaning no bloodshed on holy ground. Bet the Pope wish he had a toggle like that available back in the day. So yeah, this has definitely been a rocky launch for Ubisoft, but a successful one. And now we can turn our attention to that larger question: was this so successful that it's going to be able to help Ubisoft regroup and stabilize after a very, very rough patch? The answer to that will surely come soon enough, as Ubisoft is deep in the throes of transformation and restructure, and things are likely to move even faster now that AC Shadows is in their rearview mirror. Definitely watch this space. Pivoting now to GTA 6 news, and Christopher Drink's The Game Business publication is out the door with their first scoop. They're reporting that 3 major publishers are all ready to delay their year-end release slate in order to avoid GTA 6. Said one boss of one of the largest video game publishers, quote, "Rockstar games always suck a lot of money and, more importantly, time out of the market. We don't want to be anywhere near that. We are working on multiple different plans for our titles," end quote. Another senior executive added, quote, "Even without GTA, it's immensely difficult to find free time for new games to shine. Time is the real scarcity for us, not money. It's tough out there," end quote. The Game Business also spoke to 2 developers of top 10 live service games, and they had similar sentiments. One said, quote, "GTA 6 is basically a huge meteor, and we will just stay clear of the blast zone. We will nudge our releases back or forward 3 weeks to avoid it. Of course, the problem is everyone is going to do the same. So 3 to 4 weeks before or after GTA 6, you're going to get a load of games dropping content in what they believe to be the safe zone," end quote. Another developer added, quote, "There's no point swimming against the current. We just need to prepare to win players back once the excitement has started to die down," end quote. I can confirm some of this myself, actually. I personally have had 2 conversations with developers who have specifically said that they want to launch in 2025, but they don't want to confirm a release date yet, specifically so they can avoid the GTA 6 blast zone. And one of those games was in no way competing for the sort of player base that GTA is looking to attract. The entire industry is just taking a better safe than sorry approach, and honestly, I can't blame them. Like, we all knew this was going to be big. It's genuinely fascinating to hear how this is affecting the marketing plans of some of the biggest game makers on the planet. No one is not afraid. That is the power of House Hauser. One last story you may have seen pop up this week. Silent Hill F has been banned in Australia. Yes, it's true, but only sort of. Here's the detail. It's true that the Australian Classifications Board is a horribly inept body with woefully outdated guidelines that do see games banned for utterly ridiculous reasons. But it's also true that the body has been getting better over time. They've got a 2-stage process for classifying games now. The first stage is a self-classifying questionnaire, and the second is a manual classification if the game fails to pass that initial questionnaire. And that's exactly what happened here with Silent Hill F. It was initially refused classification based on that initial questionnaire, meaning that some of Konami's responses must have triggered the need for a manual classification. That did spit out a refused classification rating, but very soon after that, the ratings board removed that rating and issued a statement clarifying the game's classification was pending and that a decision will be communicated prior to launch. So yeah, it's not banned, but it still might be. You just never know. Such is the whimsical nature of the ratings board here, where Mortal Kombat X-ray fatalities are a-okay, but if a video game character smokes a little weed and then gets a stat boost out of it, then the game is shot into the Australian sun, never to be seen again. A quick lightning round to finish off. Microsoft may be making good on Phil Spencer's hint that Steam will be coming to future Xbox consoles. Xbox released a blog post recently with some new UI mockups that clearly show a Steam tab that could be used as a filter when viewing games you own or have access to. Microsoft have since removed these images, but honestly, I fail to believe that this was an accident. Like, you don't just put the word Steam on an Xbox UI mockup by mistake, and then it doesn't just go out the door without like 15 people reviewing it. This feels like a sort of seeding, a kind of chumming of the water a little to see what comes back. And I personally fully expect Steam and other platforms to be available on the next Xbox, because I think the next Xbox is basically just going to be a PC that's designed to be played from your couch. But that's a whole other video, and we'll no doubt be talking a lot about that in the months and years to come. CD Projekt Red has just announced that they will partner with the Saudi Arabian-owned Scopely for a new project. Scopely was recently in the headlines for purchasing Niantic and its entire games catalog, including Pokemon Go, and now they're apparently doing stuff with CD Projekt Red. No specifics on what this is yet, but Scopely are focused entirely on the mobile market, and all of their games are stuffed full to bursting with monetization. Given CD Projekt Red's will leave the greed to others ethos, I'd be very interested to learn what this new project is all about. Game Informer is back, baby, though there is a catch. Game Informer was, of course, the much-loved print and digital publication that perished last year after GameStop pulled their funding. But somehow, Game Informer has returned, with all print, website, and editorial employees back on deck. So that's a good news story, but here's the twist. Game Informer is now owned by Gunzilla Games, a blockchain NFT company making a game called Off the Grid, which is a shooter that utilizes NFTs. Now, newer viewers may be unaware of the show's classic long-running segment, No Fucking Thanks, but just in case it's at all unclear, I think NFTs are a fucking blight on this industry, and it brings me no small amount of pleasure to have seen them so thoroughly vanquished from the gaming conversation, relegated to fringe outfits still clinging to a dream that has long since faded to dust. I personally am very happy to see Game Informer back, and I wish them every success in the world, but I also harbor grave reservations because a blockchain NFT company that hasn't even shipped their debut title hardly feels like the safest of harbors. Moving on now, the fate of the upcoming Street Fighter movie looks very uncertain. It was originally set to release in March of next year, but Sony has pulled it from their release calendar without offering any new release date or even an explanation. Don't worry though, no matter what happens, we'll always have Kylie Minogue as Cammy. Speaking of adaptations, the game's only been out a few weeks, but already they've announced that Split Fiction is getting a film adaptation. It's being handled by, you guessed it, Story Kitchen, the production house that's gobbling up every single adaptation license it can get its hands on right now. Just to give you a sense of what else they've got on the boil, here's the list. A Tomb Raider anime for Netflix, a movie based on Disco Elysium, a movie based on Kingmakers, a game that hasn't even released yet, a movie based on Just Cause, a game license that feels pretty spent at this point, a movie based on House of the Dead, a game that has not seen a new entry since 2018, movies for Life is Strange, Sifu, Sleeping Dogs, Vampire Survivors, and even It Takes Two, literally the other co-op game from Hazelight. Talk about getting out over your skis. I really doubt that most of these will see an actual release, so be sure to always take any new adaptation announcement with a grain of salt. Something else you should take with a grain of salt is the rumor that there's a new God of War game releasing in 2025. This one comes from Jeff Grubb, who of course has a very strong track record, and he claims that, quote, there's still a Greek God of War thing coming out this year, but it's not a remaster collection. It's a new side story project, end quote. Could Sony be doing with God of War what Ubisoft did with Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown? Honestly, I hope so, because The Lost Crown ruled, and it'd be nice to see Sony releasing some smaller games based on their juggernaut IPs. Finally, to wrap up, we've got a quick impressions block for a sequel to a game that I quite enjoyed when it released a few years back. Austin had the chance to play this one. Take it away, Austin.
So I got a brief behind closed doors preview of Revenge of the Savage Planet, sequel to the broadly well-received comedy sci-fi adventure game Journey to the Savage Planet. As you can see, they've made the switch from first to third person in this one, which is an interesting choice, but the slapstick humor and corporate satire seems mostly intact. Likewise, self-directed exploration is again at the forefront here, with Metroidvania unlocks along the way to help you out, like the return of the whip, allowing you to grapple across platforms and lasso wildlife for research that you can use to craft new tools and cosmetics. In the demo, we also saw the player unlock a water gun that he could use to wash away poisonous goo, rehydrate platforms, and also inflate alien heads until they pop. I saw some other neat additions too, like a furnishable home base, a dash that makes combat feel a little more action-y, and it's got 4 planets where the first game only had 1. Like the first game, it is 2-player co-op, but this one's actually also got split screen, which is very nice to see. To be honest though, what I saw didn't quite capture me the same way that the first game did. Something about its more cartoony visuals and perspective shift kinda losing the immersion of its predecessor. Could still very well be a fun romp with a buddy though. I'll likely report back with my full thoughts when it releases in May this year.
So what got announced or delayed this week? Quite a few bits and pieces over the past few days. The highest profile announcement was probably this one, a video of Nolan North and Troy Baker being cute with each other to eventually announce that yes, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is coming to PS5 and it's releasing quite soon, April 17th this year. Microsoft did already let us know that this was happening, but just in case anyone was still holding onto the idea of the once cherished Xbox exclusive, between this and Forza Horizon dropping this month, the dream is well and truly over. Great Circle though, great game. An all-timer and one that everyone should check out. Look forward to it if you haven't already played it, and if you still need some convincing, I'll leave a link to my review below the like button. Speaking of all-timers, Remedy popped up this week to share a new look at FBC Firebreak. This is the cooperative first-person shooter set in the Control universe. Imagine Left 4 Dead, but instead of zombies, you're fighting hiss monsters and post-it notes? They announced a summer 2025 release window for this one, which is mid-2025 for those living in the Southern Hemisphere, and they said that all post-launch content would be free, and they're also not going down the hardcore live service route with this one. You mean I actually stop playing this after I've had my fill of it? What a concept! This one's headed to all platforms bar Switch. While we're in the spooky part of town, we'll tell you that the System Shock 2 25th Anniversary Remaster also got a release date last week, 26th of June this year for all platforms. This is the re-release of the seminal immersive sim game that predated BioShock, designed by Ken Levine and the team at Irrational Games and Looking Glass Studios. The folks at Night Dive are handling this one. They remade the first System Shock a couple of years ago. That was a good one, though this one is going down the remaster route instead, probably because it still hangs together in the modern era where System Shock 1 felt distinctively pre-modern. System Shock 2 is expected to have improved visuals, quality of life features, and things like controller support. Like I said, this one is headed to all platforms. Getting even spookier now, Bloober Team announced a new game last week, but it's not actually being developed by them. This one is an isometric survival horror game called I Hate This Place, and it's based on Twitter. No, I'm joking. It's based on a comic book and it tries to stay with that style for the art direction. Being developed by an indie team called Broken Mirror and has a broad release window of sometime this year for PC. Looks really interesting and nice to see Bloober Team supporting smaller studios. Here's another indie survival horror game for you. This one's called Phase Zero and it's leaning much harder into the PS1 Resident Evil 1 style aesthetic, complete with fixed camera angles and everything. A lot of gross looking monsters too. No date for this one yet, but it's probably worth keeping an eye on. The developers are a new outfit called Spinner Studio, and they're a Polish team made up of people who used to work at Techland and City Project Red, and it's being published by the folks who made Superhot under their Superhot Presents label. PC only for this one at the moment. Last survival horror game now, and this one's actually out right now. Devolver Digital shadow dropped this one last week. It's called Look Outside, and it comes from a solo developer called Francis Colombe. It's actually an RPG of sorts, and it revolves around being trapped in an apartment building filled with people who have turned into monsters just because they looked outside the windows. Ooh, mysterious. This one's on PC only right now. It's got some really nice pixel art, and the user reviews for this one seem pretty positive on it, with the story, atmosphere, and creature design sounding like some real highlights. If you like your creature encounters to have a little more power fantasy to them, you'll be pleased to hear that they're bringing back Painkiller. Remember Painkiller, the demon shooting game from People Can Fly? Well, Saber Interactive and 3D Realms are rebooting it, and if you didn't think we had enough FPS games about shooting demons from hell, you probably do now. This one's being developed by Anshar Studios, who helped Bloober Team develop games like Layers of Fear and Observer, and it's coming sometime in 2025 for all platforms bar Switch. But Ralph, I hear you ask, what are People Can Fly doing now if they aren't making Painkiller? Well, a bunch of stuff, including that Sony prototype we talked about last week, and they're helping out with Gears of War E-Day for Xbox, but they also just announced a new game this week, which is completely unlike any of those I just mentioned. Lost Rift is the game previously known as Project Victoria, and it's a first-person co-op survival game that blends base building with extraction gameplay. It's going for that whole stranded on a desert island thing, with the extraction stuff being the main hook, along with a destructive weather system. And sure, I guess these games are popular, but there does seem to be quite a few of them. Hopefully this studio's penchant for nailing good gameplay feel will manifest in some interesting ways here. No release date for this one yet, but it will launch into early access on Steam. Hey, you like pirates? Sure you do. And this new PC MMO called Crosswinds looks like it could be pretty interesting. Yeah, sure, it's another survival MMO, but pirates are cool, and since nothing else has given me the same highs since Black Flag, I'll take what I can get. Kinda looks like a more involved and gritty Sea of Thieves, and let's just hope it's got more juice than that other pirate survival game that came out a little while ago. Remember Atlas? No, you don't. No one does. That went absolutely nowhere fast. Anyway, no release date for this one yet, but they are taking playtest applications. And while we're on MMOs with the word cross in them, check this out. Netflix is making an MMO. Now, these guys have had quite a bit of shake-up in their games division recently, with a big change of leadership and a more concerted effort into making crowd-pleasing games that your casual Netflix watcher might actually want to click on. This will involve lots of kids games and tie-in games with their shows, but they say they still want to make more traditional original games as well, albeit ones with wider appeal. Enter Spirit Crossing, an all-ages cozy life sim MMO set in a modern fantasy world. This is a game about friendship and community, the kind of game that's pleasant and colorful, low stakes, and easy to play on mobile while you're binging your favorite Netflix true crime documentaries and learning about fucked up murderers. This one's being developed by Spry Fox, who made a pretty well-received traditional life sim called Cozy Grove before being acquired by Netflix to be an internal developer. Again, no release date for this one yet, but you can sign up for playtests on the website. It will be a mobile release only at this stage, but Netflix are doing the whole browser games thing too. Hey, have you been wondering what Blizzard co-founder Mike Morhaime is up to these days? Well, his new company Dreamhaven sure has been working on a whole bunch of stuff, and they did a big info dump this week revealing what they've got to offer. The most tangible announcement was a release date for Sunderfolk. This is the co-op turn-based tactical RPG that you play with your friends on a couch with your phones, and it tries to mix some of the socializing of D&D with a video game. I remember the initial previews for this one a while back were very impressed with it. Imagine playing like a Jackbox game, except it's got more anthropomorphic animals and less toilet humor. Anyway, this one's coming out real soon, April 24th for all platforms. Dreamhaven's next big announcement was a brand new game, a space pirate-themed team-based FPS called Wildgate. It involves both spaceship combat and on-foot shootouts as you race other teams to steal treasure and grab an ultimate MacGuffin, ideally getting into chaotic hijinks along the way. It's very colorful, it looks great, planned for release sometime in 2025 on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series consoles, but there will be a playtest from April 10th to 14th. Dreamhaven has also thrown their backing behind two smaller games that were kind of already out on Steam. The first is the cartoonish ARPG and town management game Linked Banner of the Spark. This one was in early access for a while now, and Dreamhaven is giving them backing for the 1.0 launch, which includes console releases. That launches May 22nd for all platforms bar Switch. And the last of them is Mechabellum, a mech-themed auto battler that came out last year and has already had a pretty good run. It seems like Dreamhaven decided to mech their day and pledged to give them ongoing support. Two quick release date announcements to finish off. First is Ruffy and the Riverside, which comes to all platforms on the 26th of June. This is a nice 3D platformer where one of your abilities is to copy and paste world textures onto each other and alter the makeup of a level. This had a very good Steam Next Fest demo, and the music is an absolute bop. And the second is Deliver at All Cost, which is a chaotic action driving game set in the 1950s, out on May 22nd. This is another one of Konami's indie publishing deals, and I heard some really good things about the demo for this one. Best of all, it's slated to be a freebie on the Epic Game Store at launch. So if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button on the channel and we'll let you know the moment that becomes available. Just one delay announcement this week, and it's for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodline 2. The game has been through hell and back, but it seems like publisher Paradox and new developer Chinese Room are looking to be a bit more transparent with the progress of this one. And in the latest game update they published, they announced that the game would be delayed from what was supposed to be a release in the first half of 2025 to an October release. Hopefully they managed to hit this release date. Paradox has been having a pretty poor run of games launching in a bad way lately, and Vampire the Masquerade has a pretty devout cult audience, so here's hoping they deliver, because those people have certainly been waiting. Alright, so what came out last week? Well, the big one from last week was of course Assassin's Creed Shadows. We spent quite a bit of time on the reviews for that one last week and a bit more on how it's tracking at the top of the show, but the gist of it is it's been well received. The Open Critic score is a strong 81, the Steam user rating is very positive, and it's clearly attracting millions of players and performing well in relation to previous games in the series. So let's go back a bit further and check in on Midnight Murder Club. This is the multiplayer team-based FPS game from Velan Studios and PlayStation, set in a pitch-black mansion where all you have is a flashlight, a revolver, and proximity chat. Very, very few critic reviews for this one, if any, which just goes to show you that yes, it's true. Video game reviewers have no friends and can't play team-based multiplayer games. Now look, it's rare for early access games to get a good look in, especially after a stacked month of releases like we just had. Do you think that PlayStation would have made a bigger fuss about this? Maybe they've gotten spooked by over-marketing their live service offerings. Over on Steam though, things are looking okay. It's currently sitting at a mixed rating with just 102 reviews, though 69% of them are positive. Nice. Here's a crab offering on Steam who had mostly good things to say about it after 7 hours with the game. Quote, 10 out of 10 party game. Solved my kidney stone issue by making me piss myself laughing. Love the guest pass system, super consumer friendly. Love the data collection opt-out being super clear and again, consumer friendly. Gameplay is a ton of fun. Different modes keep it quite fresh for a good amount of time. Having to sign into the PSN sucks, end quote. Now, most of the negative reviews are people unhappy with the PSN login requirement, but here's one from Werewolf Knights that's slightly more constructive, written after around an hour of play. Quote, this game is a lot of fun, for a while. The public lobbies can be hit or miss with communication. Some talk and some don't, and some just mute their mic when they realize sound is a big factor in this game. Better to queue with friends. This game is more a party game, and I think the base price should fall more around $10. It's just not going to hold my attention for too long unless I'm playing with friends. The only reason I'm not refunding, end quote. Honestly, I can see that. I'm definitely curious to try this one out for myself. Moving on now to 33 Immortals. It's another early access game that launched last week. This is the 33-player co-op roguelike from the folks that made Spiritfarer. In a very questionable move, they've decided to release this only on the Epic Games Store and Xbox storefronts right now, which cannot mean good things for its player base, but it is on Xbox Game Pass too, so hopefully there are at least 33 people playing this one at any one time. Same deal goes for this one, not a lot of reviews at the time of writing. PC Games N was one of the few outlets to give it an unscored review in progress, and they came away pretty positive after about 8 hours of play. Quote, the visuals don't stand out all that much, and the music hasn't lingered in my brain, but I've been unable to kick my desire to play more. It's a quick-fire MMO that scratches the raid itch I haven't had the time to soothe in years, end quote. All right, let's move on to the GOAT from last week, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, and I really wanted to find the time to dig into this one, but Shadows unfortunately sucked up all of my time. Thankfully, a bunch of mighty champions decided to devote 100 hours to reviewing this masterpiece. It came in at a mighty 88 on OpenCritic, which makes it one of the year's best, and unsurprisingly, everyone loves what is unquestionably one of the best Xenoblade games. Here's IGN, who scored it a 9 out of 10, saying, quote, Xenoblade Chronicles X was already one of the Wii U's best games, and this definitive edition has escaped the destruction of its old home like the white whale and settled down nicely on Switch. Quality of life improvements here are enough to justify another trip to Mira alone for veteran players, and it's the perfect opportunity for newcomers to explore its beautiful landscapes for themselves. Its combat systems are deep and engaging, and the massive open world never got old to run, jump, or fly across. Its main story may not quite live up to the standards of the series, but a likable cast of characters and plenty of compelling side missions mean Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is still an adventure worth riding back home about, end quote. Absolutely well put. Please go and play this, it's amazing. So what's coming out this week? Well, there's a few things dropping on March 27th, the first being Atomfall. This is the new one from Rebellion, who is best known for their Sniper Elite series. And no, this is not British Fallout. If you saw Austin's preview for this one, you'll know that this is a bit more of an open-ended survival-ish shooter with a bit of mystery to solve and a non-linear approach to getting there. Reviews for this one are already out and it's sitting at a solid 75 on OpenCritic. Lots of scores in the 6s and 7s, but with a positive slant when it comes to what's being offered. A solid AA game then, perfect for a subscription service, and hey, what do you know? It's coming out on Game Pass as well as for PC and PS5. Do expect a full review from Austin later in the week. Joining Atomfall on Thursday is the first Berserker, Kazan. This is the impressive-looking Souls-like from Korean developer Neopie and Nexon, based on their wildly popular beat-em-up series Dungeon and Fighter. This one's had a few spin-off games, including a 2D fighter game called DNF Duel, but the first Berserker, Kazan, really imagines this world. Strong reviews for this one out already with an 80 on OpenCritic, with early reports saying that this one is brutally difficult, features an excellent combat model and some fantastic set pieces. This one's dropping on all platforms bar Switch. Shifting gears a little now, the 27th sees the release of Rosewater, the Old West point-and-click adventure game we mentioned on the show a few weeks back, with choice and consequence and a relationship system. The solo dev behind this one has a strong track record for this genre, and Rosewater features a stacked video game voice class including Roger Clark, who was Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2, David Fennoy, who was Lee in The Walking Dead, Sissy Jones from Firewatch, and Liquid Snake himself, Cam Clark. On Friday the 28th, we've got a big one coming in. This game is currently #1 on Steam's wishlist chart. It's called Inzoi, and it's the hyper-realistic Sims rival from the Korean company Krafton. You know, the people who own PUBG and Save Tango Gameworks. This one is launching into PC Early Access naturally, and its clear hook is the look and feel of it, which is miles different from the stylized art direction of The Sims. It's clearly something that Life Simulator fans have been drawn to if the anticipation is anything to go by. There's also some very interesting tech in there, like turning objects from digital photographs into in-game assets. Some of the recent previews ahead of launch have been a bit mixed though, with the life simulation aspects being a bit limited at this stage, but perhaps all of those cool tools will be enough to sustain it for a while. And finally, on Wednesday, April 2nd, Wargaming are launching Steel Hunters into early access. This is basically, we have Transformers at home and we can make them fight each other. This one will be free to play, and it certainly looks pretty cool at first glance, and there have been some pretty good impressions coming out of the playtests. But it is coming from Wargaming, so watch out for that monetization. We'll we'll certainly check back out on this one next week. All right, time to pivot from Michael Bay robots to whatever the hell is going on here. So put this on your radar. This is Promise Mascot Agency, and it's, bear with me, an open-world narrative adventure game that involves managing a crew of Japanese mascot characters that are definitely not people in costumes and shipping them out in your little mini truck to help out the citizens of a rural Japanese town. The main one is apparently a severed finger. Ew. Also, the truck can fly for some reason. Honestly, even the people who have played the demo for this one have left very confused, but very intrigued. You play an exiled Yakuza who's been roped into doing this weird job, and get this, he's voiced by the same guy that voices Kiryu in the Yakuza series. The guy that looks like a Yakuza in real life because he dresses like this. Also, Shuhei Yoshida and Swery65 are in this too, I guess. This is the second game from Kaizen Gameworks, who did the very highly acclaimed and surreal detective game Paradise Killer a few years ago, so there's very good reason to pay attention to Promise Mascot Agency. This one comes out for all platforms on April 10th, which is turning out to be a very stacked time for promising indie games, so we thought we'd get this on your wish list ahead of time so we can give you another potential banger next week. If you do like the look of it, you can find a link to it over on our Steam Curator page, which also has links to all of the other Put This in a Radar stuff we've recently covered. I'll leave a link to all of that below the like button. Sort of free stuff time now, and over on the Epic Games Store, you've still got time to grab Jurassic World Evolution 2, but Epic are doing their whole mystery game thing for what comes next, which means we can't tell you what's on offer, but we will tell you next week, so be sure to come back then and we'll let you know. I can tell you though that if you have access to the Epic Games Store on mobile, say if you have an Android or iOS device in Europe, you can pick up 2 free mobile games on there, which are Super Meat Boy Forever, a runner version of the challenging precision platformer, as well as Eastern Exorcist, a stunning looking 2D action RPG in the vein of Vanillaware games. The only other shout this week is Prime Gaming. They're ending the month by giving away The Forgotten City, which is a time loop game you should absolutely play if you're into that sort of stuff. That one's on the Amazon Games app. They're also giving away gold codes for Deus Ex: The Invisible War and Epic Games Store codes for skateboarding sim Session, as well as the underrated park management game Let's Build a Zoo. And don't forget to grab Legacy of Kain and Wolfenstein if you haven't already. Our feel-good story for the week is a banger, not gonna lie. See, recently there was a story reporting that Ubisoft had sent out an internal memo advising their staff to stay off social media during the AC Shadows launch, so hostile was the online discourse around it. Well, one person seemed to have missed that memo, and that person was whoever is managing the official Assassin's Creed Twitter account. Elon Musk was responding to a post from political streamer Hassan, who was doing a sponsored stream to promote AC Shadows. Elon, the world's richest man and the proxy president of the United States, took time out of his busy day to reply, quote, "Hassan is a fraud. Sellout would be more accurate. Objectively, he is promoting a terrible game just for the money," end quote. Now, I'm sure I don't need to detail the numerous ways in which Musk's post was stupid, so I won't. I will simply direct you to the response from the official Assassin's Creed Twitter account, which reads, quote, "Is that what the guy playing your Path of Exile 2 account told you?" End quote. They are, of course, referring to the fact that Elon Musk pays other people to play games like Diablo and Path of Exile for him so that he can then lie about it and take the credit for their accomplishments. Literally the saddest and most pathetic thing a human being can do. The AC post was a hit on Twitter. Musk's post capped out at around 33,000 likes. Ubisoft's post, 659,000 likes and counting. Assassin's Creed Shadows, of course, introduced the brutal assassination mechanic in-game, but I don't think anyone was expecting their social media manager would be introducing it in real life too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the show for the week. A quick heads up about next week. I am traveling, so the show time might be a little off, so do forgive us if things get a little funky. We're working on some cool stuff right now that I'm very excited to share with you. But for now, this video is in desperate need of likes. With only one click of the like button, you can help a poor, suffering YouTube video get the algorithmic sustenance it needs to survive. And if you'd like to make a recurring contribution, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ding the notification bell as well. Hey, by the way, do you guys live in Australia or New Zealand and want to win a brand new custom-built PC featuring an RTX 5080? If so, be sure to stick around to hear from this video's sponsor. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. Always extremely proud to be able to partner with this video's sponsor, NVIDIA and Gigabyte Aorus. Gigabyte Aorus's GeForce RTX 50 series GPUs deliver all of the incredible performance and technology you've come to expect from NVIDIA, with all the added features, reliability, and support that Gigabyte Aorus are famous for. They're huge supporters of this channel, actually, to the point where they've previously given away 3 custom-built PCs exclusively through us, and now they're giving away a fourth. They're doing it to celebrate the release of their 50 series GPU lineup, delivering absolute cutting edge in graphical processing hardware. This generation's Blackwell architecture delivers an unprecedented and unparalleled level of processing throughput, enabling high settings and higher frame rates in the games you love. The hardware is custom built for immersion, with cores specifically dedicated to ray tracing, the technology that results in the most realistic modeling and recreation of light we've seen in video games. Games like Avowed benefit massively from ray tracing, with reflections, global illumination, and so much more, all enhanced by NVIDIA's powerful tech. Avowed also supports one of the most exciting new technologies delivered by the 50 series GPUs, the introduction of DLSS 4 with multi-frame generation, and this one's actually a huge deal for both frame rates and image quality. On the frame rate front, multi-frame generation can add up to 3 additional frames per rendered frame. This sort of tech is perfect for offline single-player games like Alan Wake or Cyberpunk or Avowed, where that added smoothness makes the game look incredible, fully utilizing the capabilities of high refresh rate televisions and monitors. Plus, DLSS 4 also delivers substantial enhancements to image quality over previous versions of DLSS. Bottom line, games that utilize DLSS to hit desired frame rates, which is most of them these days, they will look better when powered by DLSS 4. If you're looking to upgrade to a 50 series GPU, then a Gigabyte Aorus card is the obvious choice. Their WindForce cooling system delivers a 53.6% increase in air pressure and a 12.5% increase in air volume without compromising acoustics, meaning you can push your card harder while keeping temperatures down and noise low. The 5080 GPUs from Gigabyte have a range of different customization options, like their Gaming OC edition, which comes with RGB halo lighting, or their Master Edition, which comes with that RGB halo lighting and an LCD edge view to display GPU stats or even custom text, images, or GIFs. The PC that Gigabyte are giving away has one of these RTX 5080 Master GPUs in it. It was built by Gigabyte's resident in-house PC builder, Simple Mods, who also has a YouTube channel where he shows his build process, link to that below the like button. The PC also contains an Intel Ultra Core 7 265K processor with memory, cooling, power, and case, all courtesy of Corsair, a fantastic PC that can be yours just so long as you live in Australia or New Zealand. To be in the running, just click the link below and follow the instructions. It's super easy, and with any luck, this bad boy can be yours. If you want to learn more about Gigabyte's exciting range of 50 series GPUs, I'll leave a link to the product page below the like button. Thanks to NVIDIA and Gigabyte for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it.